We begin today, letter 12. Letter 12. It begins with a verse from Isaiah, Yeshayahu. I'll just read it in Hebrew and then translate it. Haya ma'aseh tzedakah shalom. And it will be the reward for the act of tzedakah, of charity, will be peace. And the reward, we have to be careful with the word reward. It's not the usual common idea of reward, meaning, it is reward. In others, that you're getting something, but we'll see. It's not what we usually consider reward. We'll get there. But for the service, as opposed to the act of charity, of tzedakah, will be quietness, surety forever. So we need to understand, when it comes to the act of charity, you're getting peace. There's peace. And what does that mean, peace? We'll get there. When you are doing the service, right? So what's the difference between an act and service? Act is the action. The service means a little bit deeper. It's not just the action. That means what's inside of you, what's going on inside of you in the service of it, right? Which we'll define much more clearly when we get there. But that will be quietness and assurity. So why is it that you're getting quietness and assurity when it comes to the service of being charitable, and through the act itself you're getting peace? So we need to understand this. Okay. That's the springboard for a discussion that will begin now. So our sages say on the verse Oisei Shalom, the famous verse Oisei Shalom b'Imraima Yasei Shalom Aleinu Be'al Kol Yisrael b'Imeru Amen. There's a song with that, and so on and so forth. So God makes peace in his high places, and that's it. He's only quoting that part of the verse. What does it mean that God makes peace in high places? How do we understand that? Well, what's high places? Well, high places, of course, refers to the spiritual world. Not this physical world. This is not a high place. This is called a low world. This is where we make a dwelling place for God in this low world. Why is it low? Not low because it's insignificant or not valuable. It's actually the most valuable and significant. But it's low because the light of God doesn't shine here. It's hidden. God is concealed. Right? Open up your eyes, you can see godliness in the world, no question. But it's concealed. What's the proof? People do bad things. If God was present, there's no way we do bad things, right? He wouldn't. Not possible, right? Just think of yourself when God is present in your life and real. I know I'm just present like, he gave you a present. No, not he gave you a present. He's real. You act differently. So where is he real? In the spiritual realm. Well, so the sages say on this verse that the Sar Michol, which is the Prince Michol, meaning the angel. Some people translate it in Michael, but it's Michol. We'll use the Hebrew. In English it would be Michael. So Jewish people who have a name Michael, often their Hebrew name is Michol. So the angel Michol, he is the prince of water. Not physical water, spiritual water. As we all know, everything in the physical world is devolved from the spiritual world. So in the spiritual world, there is water. And the angel Michol, he is the prince over that water. It's his jurisdiction, right? And Gavriel, or in English, Gabriel, which is pretty close translation, he is also a prince, another angel. But what kind of prince is he? A fire. And as our sages say, yet they don't extinguish each other, because naturally, not just in the physical world, but also in the spiritual world, the idea of fire, well, it will vaporize water if it gets the best of it. Or if it's the other way around, the water gets the best of fire, it will put out and extinguish the fire. right? And again, what does this mean? We're talking about a substance of spiritual matter, a spiritual element of the concept of water. What is that concept of water? And the concept of fire. So we've learned this idea before. Water is a concept of chesed, of kindness. So physically, water descends from a high place to a low place. And that's what chesed, kindness is. Kindness is the giver, so to speak, is the giver on a higher place, giving to the one who doesn't have. Right? It doesn't mean that the one who doesn't have is a bad person, and this is a good person. Just in the act of kindness, the one who's giving is in the higher plateau of having to give than the one who's being a recipient. By the way, that's why people don't like to be a recipient, because they want to feel that they're lower. But that's the concept of water, which is a metaphor for kindness. And actually, water is, we feel that it's kindness. Without water, we don't live. Right? Real divine kindness. So it's the idea of bestowal, God's bestowal. It's the metaphor of God's bestowal of kindness from above. The divine life force of God's kindness that he diffuses. The light of God in the higher worlds, making it prevalent, clear, and obvious, his kindness there. As opposed to here, it's not so as obvious, right? That's why we're talking in spiritual worlds right now. Fire, on the other hand, its nature is the opposite. It doesn't go from high to below. Fire is something that ascends upwards, right? A flickering flame goes upwards. So its nature is to soar aloft. What does that represent? Spiritually, that is gvura, severity, strength, power. Right? Upward withdrawal of the flow of the life force. In other words, it's not to bestow. Kindness is to bestow from above, showering us down here below, or in the spiritual realm we're talking about in this instance, right? But in order to not bestow, except by way of an intense and immense contraction. But think about it, right? Fire, if you don't contract it, in meaning, if you don't contain fire, what happens with it? It's destructive. It's only when you contain it properly, right, then now you can cook with it. You can do something. But if it just, runs on its own, it's purely destructive. So the idea of fire, that is the constructive fire, has to be contained. That's the idea of severity. Severity means containing, limiting. It's the delimiter. Kindness is flowing and giving. Water from above, just flowing down, and oh, look at that water that is just giving life. Indiscriminately everywhere. And that's how water goes, indiscriminate, right? That's the metaphor. Fire, though, and that's in a positive thing, right? Obviously, it's a flood, and it's too much, right? It's not good. And again, this is a metaphor, so we take it for its metaphorical purpose. So gvura, what's happening with the gvura? For it to have its benefit, you have to contain it, you have to constrain it. Well, that's the metaphor of power. Constrained, intense, contracted. Gvura, strength, severity. So now, there's a problem over here. These two powers, these two attributes now, right? We're talking about in the spiritual realm. Gavriel, Mechol on the right, which is Chesed. Gavriel on the left, which is Gvura. There's a conflict over here. Either give, an effusion of divine light that's unlimited, which is Chesed, the right side, or to give a divine light of God that's limited, contracted, right? So, in other words, in their pristine state of being, these attributes that Michael, Gabriel, what they represent, are kind of battling each other, these attributes, because there's an inherent limitation to them. As a midah means measure, there's a measure to, and therefore, because of their characteristic, there is, is it expansive, right side, or withdrawal, holding back, the left side? That's the end of today's class. Leaving us at the edge of the seat. How is this going to come together now? How is this going to be that there isn't this conflict in the spiritual realm, which of course would devolve into this world, into also conflict? The answer is tomorrow's class. Sorry, but that's the way life goes. Okay. So, anybody know some good angels? Not Casper the Friendly Ghost. That's not an angel. And there's no angel. Davina's not going to sleep tonight because we're left with a question. How's this going to work? Actually, we kind of gave the answer already in the verse. We just didn't give it in the explanation. The verse says it all that we quoted from Tehillim, but I'm not going to say more than that. I don't see any questions. I don't see any comments. I don't see anything. All right, folks. Oh, I do. What does Uriel and Raphael represent? In the Telebenta. So Raphael is in charge of Refuah. Raphael means the healer of God. Raphael, healer, God's healer. So Raphael is God's healer. That's what he's in charge of. Which might deal with compassion. The middle mixture of Chesed and Gvura. Real, I don't remember. Sorry. Elka's sons are named after angels. I'm sure they're all angelic. She's got a Gavriel, a Raphael, and a Uriel. Beautiful. All right. Like their names, so they are, I'm sure. John, 71% of Earth is water. Chesed. Oh, interesting. Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely. And we ourselves also. I think around the same percentage, if I'm not mistaken. Is that true, John? How, Diana, did Noah affect God's concealment in this world? Did it increase? How did Noah affect God's concealment in this world? Did it increase? I'm not certain I got that. You mean, why was there a flood? I'm not clear. Sorry, Diana, what do you mean? Noah's flood, yeah, that I got. So unlimited giving can bring a flood. That's it. Unlimited giving, unlimited kindness, unlimited water can give flood, right? So that's where it comes from. Absolutely. All right, folks. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadesh in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and pleasure to share with you the Tanya, Rambam is coming up. There's TRC today at 4:30, by the way. TRC 4:30. Don't want to miss it. Okay. There are maybe some questions, but I have to run right now, and I'm going to be in Rambam in a few minutes. But the conversation will continue tomorrow because we're in the middle of the thought. All right, guys. Thank you. God bless you. Have a wonderful